is so good to share with you this morning. Actually, this was supposed to be Bree, but Bree is in quarantine, so you get me. To start with this morning, though, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you a little bit differently than what you might expect here. I'm going to challenge you to see how many voices you can recognize from what we're going to play here in a few minutes. These are voices from celebrities, and some are from Disney movies. So, the Disney movies, I wasn't good at all on them, so we're going to have some help with that. But I'm just going to actually, when you do it, when you hear it, it goes very quickly. So when you hear it, you can shout it out if you know who it is. I think the volume's okay, Trent, but we can see. Okay. All right, here we go.
Your job as an actor is to give it your best shot every time. So yes, I'm going into it.
Morgan Freeman. I believe you guys are gonna be too good for this, I think. Good job.
When he talked to me about it, to begin with, I didn't assume it would be television. But I think that this story...
I think Sherry got it.
Every actor that I work with, every director has their own taste and style. And, every actor, I mean, especially early on, is when you hear about it.
Anybody have an idea? No. It's famous, huh? That's right, Tom Cruise.
Oh, really? Subscribe and like it. We're going to get notifications now.
It's not gonna get do that.
And there's this great sense of camaraderie, and I think anyone who's retired from acting or filmmaking, if you ask them,
Michael Douglas?
No, I don't think so. I can't think who it is.
And he said to me, hey, let me ask you a little question. Do you want to be an actor or do you want to be a movie star?
Good guess. Think, Blindside. No, that's not good. What? I was wrong on that one. I gave that one. I wouldn't know that.
I'm looking at the scene, what's playing, what's not playing, as much as I can judge it, as much as I can remove myself from me. But
I think this is the last celebrity one.
No, absolutely not. I think anyone, men, women, everyone's looking for a role that isn't conventional, but that can tell the story and move people. And when I read it, I didn't think of it as
Think Blindside. Okay, now we're gonna go switch off to Disney.
That's a good move. I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug. 10,000 years.
That is Genie, Run the Place.
That fast and best combo is much to 3rd century. These patches, what are you trying to say?
Robin Williams.
All right, I'm going inside. You could just stay here and watch for Sean. One playing the Snarflet. It looks just like him. It even has his eye. Why, Eric? Run away with you? This is awesome. So sudden.
Oh, of course. What could be more important than a little something to eat? Oh, yes, I'm hungry in my tummy. Time for something sweet. Oh, it's no use. I know.
Enchanté, chérie. Of course, of course. What's this dinner? Without a little music? Oh, monsieur. No, it has to be something very special. Something that starts into a disaster. I could be wrong, but that may not be the best way to win the girl's affection.
I am wonderful. I've always wanted to know. Oh, I love it even more. Oh, you know why? I always love the idea of summer and sun and all things high. Hi, everyone. I'm Oprah, and I like warm hugs.
Here, but Austin, big enough warriors on that problem, buddy? Huh? Huh? Do you? Yeah. Ooh, I'm scared now. See, I suffer from short-term memory loss. When life gets you down, you know what you gotta do. Keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming,
Well, what'd you think? I just knocked in here and nobody was looking. Pretended to be a waiter just so I could hang out with you? This ain't gonna be good. Well, this was the best night. And my favorite souvenir. This new Dan. That's it. My name's Baby. You're like Tub, maybe, but without the tub.
Hey, I think you guys know your Disney and your movies pretty well. I was hearing all kinds of right answers there. You might wonder why in the world I would ask you to identify voices this morning. The ones that we've heard a lot in movies, there were a couple of them I heard. I don't think we got Brad Pitt, is that right? Did anybody get that? And we're all like, oh, and I forgot who it was too. But we're familiar with them, but we don't always recognize them. So today's today's scripture comes from 1 Samuel chapter 3. And it's about a young boy named Samuel, who was visited and heard a voice that night. So the boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days, words of the Lord were rare because there was much turmoil. So one night, Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the house of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, Here I am, you called me. But Eli said, "I did not call you. Go back and lie down." So he went and he lay down. Again the Lord called Samuel, and Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." "My son," Eli said, "I did not call you. Go back and lie down." Yeah, go to sleep right now. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. A third time the Lord called Samuel. "Samuel." And he got up and he went to Eli and he said, "Here I am, you called me." You ever had kids getting up in the night and coming to you and you're like, "Go back and lay down"? Well, finally, Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down. And if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." A little boy was not recognizing the voices, but finally someone helped him recognize it. Can you imagine what it would have been like to have been Samuel? Can you imagine what it would have been like to have been Abby's age and hear Abby? And you would have gone to your mom probably, right? And said that. I mean, that age, maybe even younger. Why in the world would Samuel not have recognized God's voice? We can say that, we can think that, but really? We hear these voices a lot on TV and all that. We didn't recognize all of them, we did some. The nation of Israel had strong leaders from Moses and Joshua as it moved through captivity, but they had, at this time, had moved into where the Israelites had judges who ruled, but they favored one tribe over another. Life was not perfect in the Promised Land at this time, and hearing the word of the Lord was rare. It seemed like people just did what they thought was right in their own eyes. But then God spoke. He called 3 times, and Samuel responded, "Here I am." But he thinks it was his mentor. The 3rd time, then the 4th time, and then a little boy responded to God's call and quickly did what he was asked him to do. He responded, "Here I am." And he asked him to speak at that point. Do we audibly hear God's voice today calling our name? Not very often, I would say. I can't say never, but I would say not very often. Are we called to do things for him? Yes. Do we recognize God's voice calling us? Maybe not audibly, but that still small voice that we hear in the back of our mind that we need to call somebody, we need to text somebody, we need to go help somebody with their homework, we need to do this, we need to do that. That's that still small voice. And when we answer to it and say, "Here I am," we open ourselves up to the opportunities for us and for other people. God doesn't just ask us to go, and other times he asks him to go somewhere else and do something. He doesn't ask us to be this great move or do all these great big things. He asks us in our own circumstances to help others. He speaks to us through others, through our thoughts, through our circumstances, and through many other ways. We have so many examples of people who have answered God's call. Think about Mary, the mother of Jesus. Once again, a very young girl. And she said, "Here I am." Was it easy? No way. No way was it easy. But she was chosen to bear God's son. She was just a child, yet she answered yes. What about Joseph? He at first did not want to answer that call, but he did. Think about the 12 who were chosen, the disciples. The first ones, Simon and Andrew and James and John, were simple fishermen. I don't think you could have noticed anything unusual about them. They were fishermen, ordinary working folks. They were the sort of folks you would run into at Walmart, not at Whole Foods. They would not have stood out from the crowd. They were just ordinary people like you and me. Now, I'm not saying some of you don't stand out for a crowd. I didn't mean that. But they're ordinary. Jesus chose them, and he called them to be his disciples. That goes against our instincts. If we have an important job to be done, we try to get the best people we can. You know, when we choose teams in school to play, we always wanted to choose the best ones. You pick the best athletes. You pick the best speaker. You pick the best writer. You pick the best Scholastic Bowl member. You pick the best artist. When you hire somebody for a position, you want to hire somebody who can, who's one of the most qualified candidates. Over and over again, when God needs something difficult, even impossible done, He calls ordinary people like us and equips us to do amazing things. And we become hesitant sometimes because we are ordinary. We question whether God really has the right person. Moses, when he was leading his people out of Israel, or out of slavery, he responded that he was the wrong man. He was too ordinary. He lacked the gifts. Joshua did the same because he wasn't sure that he believed the right way. They're not alone in the responses. Most people, myself included, react with an excuse. I want to play video games, or I'm too tired, or I'm too busy. Our calendars are too full. We try to say no. However, saying no to God can cause us to miss out on an opportunity. It's not an obligation, it's an opportunity. So there's a story that about a missed opportunity, and I'd like to share this, and excuse me from reading it directly, but I think I'm going to so I don't mess it up. One day a friend invited him to join him for a ride into the country. To his surprise, they left the highway and headed off down a dirt road through orange groves, finally parking near an abandoned farmstead. His friend, whose name was Walter, motioned for him to get out. Walter then described with great passion a new adventure that he had planned for this land. It soon became apparent that he was inviting his friend Arthur to join him on the ground floor of this new venture by investing in some of the surrounding land. Much as he respected his friend, Arthur could not help but think, who in the world is going to drive 25 miles into the middle of nowhere to support Walter's new venture? Still, Walter insisted, explaining that while he had enough money to handle the main project, it would require everything he had, which was why he was offering this opportunity to his friend to buy the surrounding land, which he knew in a few years, remember, out in the middle of nowhere, would be jammed with hotels and restaurants designed to accommodate the needs of those who came to vacation at that park. Walter assured Arthur that in less than 5 years, the land would appreciate in value by several hundred times. Arthur didn't know what to say. He knew Walter was wrong, though, and he knew that Walter had let his dream overcome his common sense. He's out in the middle of nowhere, guys. So he mumbled something about tight money and promised to look into it later. Like, I need to think about it and I'll be back. You know, I do that at a store sometimes. And with those words, Art Linkletter turned down the opportunity to buy the land surrounding Disneyland. His friend Walt Disney had offered him the opportunity of a lifetime, but fearful, Art hesitated, and in hesitating, he lost his chance. It's sad that Art missed his opportunity to buy up the land around Disneyland, but how much sadder to miss out on an opportunity that God has given us. That is why "here I am" is the right answer. It's not the easy answer, but it's the right answer. We have so many examples of people in our personal lives that we see say, "here I am," every day. Think about it. Who are the examples in your lives, in your schools? And I don't mean that they're on the street corner preaching. I mean that just maybe do some things that are unnoticed. They respond. What does he require of us, though? He requires willingness to be used. He requires us to do more than just show up. I'm kind of full of stories this morning, sorry, but I found a story actually from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes site, which I don't do. Do you have FCA at Thompsonville? Sometimes they do. Do they have it at Heron? FCA? No? Okay. We do sometimes at Fairfield. It's the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that they do devotions. Right now, it's really hard for us to have anything. But this is a story from that. After a game, this is a baseball game, this guy says, one of my players did not follow my signal and steal second base. So I went to talk to him, and he said, I need second base. I don't need a leadoff hitter to get to first. I need a leadoff hitter to get to second. And most of the time, that's what a leadoff hitter does do in baseball. If you're telling me you can't get to second, then I need to find another leadoff hitter. I'll get you second base was the answer from the kid. Good. So often, we are content to just show up, to get to first base. We've got the shirt, the uniform, the team. We come here and we show up. That is extremely important. First step. First step. We have to come back together in the huddle all the time when we do this. But we need to, when we go out into our lives, we need to take the bigger purpose and go past first base and get second. And then you get to second, and maybe you believe a little bit more. And third base is a little harder to get, but you can get to third base. We oftentimes, I'm very guilty of this, of saying, I'm not as gifted as another person. I am so busy on this or all that. God knows that. He knows exactly how we are when He speaks to us. But we need to answer, here am I. God realizes that we will make mistakes when we answer the call and we say, here I am. We may not do what we need to do, but He's always there, understanding us and helping us. Another true story that I found is about a football player. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this, but his name was Roy Riegels. And he was in the 1929, we didn't watch it probably, Rose Bowl, when his team, the University of California, took on Georgia. An incredible opportunity came Roy's way when he picked up a fumbled football with no one between him and the goal. Unfortunately, in scooping up the ball, he became disoriented. And guess what he did? He ran the wrong way. Ran 65 yards in the wrong direction. What would you have done, Trent? Indeed, he would have scored for Georgia. What if he'd been his teammate? Had another teammate not overtaken him and tackled him near the goal line. Poor guy. Poor guy. On that Saturday, back then it wouldn't have been televised like it would be. The Rose Bowl is a big deal, so, Roy was devastated. The Cal coach at halftime did not mention Roy or his mistake. The only thing he said as they headed back onto the field was the kids who had been on the field when the quarter ended would start the second half. Guess who that included? The team ran out onto the field except for Roy. He went over and he sat on the bench, unmoving, with his head held in his hands. The coach called out, "Riegels, didn't you hear me?" He looked up, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "Coach, I can't go out there to save my life. I have ruined you. I have ruined the University of California, and I have ruined myself. I couldn't face the crowd to save my life." Coach Price walked over to him, placed his hands on Riegel's shoulders, and said firmly to him, "Roy, get on out there. The game is only half over." Roy obeyed. He went out. Those who were present that day they never saw anyone play football like Roy did in that second half. The coach had given him a second opportunity, and instead of allowing his fear of past failures to hold him back, he took advantage of it. God knows that we will make mistakes. And he uses other people to be that coach sometimes too. Maybe you're Roy and you've messed up. Maybe you're the coach and you need to encourage someone. But God calls each and every one of us. We carry a list of failures around with us, but when he calls, we need to say yes. Here I am, trusting that God will provide what we need to move into the future. Will we answer the call saying, here I am? Will we trust God that he's equipping us? He wants us to say yes, even in our weakest times. So in closing, I want to close with a video that I feel like is an image of God being the coach, encouraging us to keep pushing forward beyond what we think we can do. May God bless us in our journey with him.